the mild side.
Up next, Guantanamo Bay was supposed to close by today. We will talk live with an attorney representing a detainee at Guantanamo Bay about the president's failed promise to shut it down. We're back right after this. It's 9:19. 1 year ago today, President Obama vowed to close the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, but today that deadline has come and gone and the center is still open.
Yeah, this morning we are joined by attorney Leonard Goodman, who represents one of the prisoners there at Guantanamo. Now, you say that the guy you represent is innocent. Tell us about the story, how this guy was picked up, where he was picked up, and obviously now he's at Guantanamo.
My client, his name is Shawali Khan. He's a farmer from a farm family outside of Kandahar. He was captured. At the time he was captured, he was a shopkeeper, working as a shopkeeper in Kandahar city. He was not picked up by the United States forces. He was picked up by Afghans, some local hoodlums who worked for a local warlord named Shirzai, who was a notoriously corrupt warlord. His captors robbed him, took his motorcycle, took his money, went to a store, took the money out of the cash register, and then turned him over to the Americans. And at that time, the United States was paying large bounties to turn in terrorists. This was November of 2002. Between $2,000 and $20,000 for Al-Qaeda fighters, Taliban fighters. And at that time, the CIA received reports that my client was part of some local terrorist cell that was plotting attacks on U.S. forces. All the evidence is classified in the case.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it's classified is so if it wasn't, reporters like you could look at it and you would see that there was nothing in there.
Well, I've received some
saying
documents.
No, but we actually have the U.S. government as a statement where they're saying your client, Shawali Khan, was a member of a terrorist organization. Search of his house revealed receipts showing transfer of rifles, a rocket, and 3 machine guns, and a 50-meter spool of detonation cord. So is that not true? Did they not find that stuff?
It's not true. It's not true. It's all made up.
It also says the detainee's uncle was the commander of a known terrorist organization. He was a member of that same terrorist organization, and also the detainee worked for this known terrorist organization as an operator on the communications system.
Right. And what I'm telling you is the way they got it is the CIA received reports. If you look at the classified evidence, there are CIA reports where the CIA says, I talked to this informant who told me these things. The CIA officers didn't bother to put down the name of the informant. We don't know if that informant actually saw any of this stuff or is just saying what he heard from someone else. We don't know if these informants were paid money. None of this is in the CIA reports, and the judge has already said, you can't consider this information.
The way you were connected to this particular client of yours is solely by chance because you reached out to an organization. What's this organization? The
Center for Constitutional Rights in New York. And that's how a lot of us volunteer lawyers came on board. We said, we'll take on a case. We got matched up with a client. And I've been to Guantanamo 4 times. I was there Monday for my 4th visit. And
what are the conditions like there?
It's very bleak. I mean, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so I've been to prisons all over Illinois, all over the country, visited witnesses, but nothing prepares you for this. It's the most bleak place. Your client is, when you interview him, he's shackled to the floor. You were restricted as to what information we can share with our clients. We can't leave anything with him. We can't give him books. For much of the last 7 years, he's been in solitary confinement. I can't give him a book to read. Any notes we take are confiscated and reviewed.
What do you think about some of the suspected terrorists who were released? Because there's been a number that have been released and have gone back to the Taliban, and the CIA has reports they've gone back to their terrorist activities.
Well,
there's proof of that now.
The problem with this whole system that we set up is the government has decided not to trust the courts. So everyone that was released was done outside of the courts. My client has been begging for a hearing in a court of law for 7 years. And one of the sad things is this particular visit, I had to deliver the news that the hearing he had been waiting for, which was scheduled for mid-February, where I had explained to him we would have a fair judge who would look at the evidence, and the government they couldn't just make these allegations, they would have to actually produce some evidence, and you would have a chance to testify. I had to tell him that hearing has been postponed indefinitely.
It sounds like you want criminal courts for some of these guys, and some of these people at Guantanamo are suspected of doing terrible, terrible things, suspected of being terrorists. Are these people not enemy combatants? Is there not a war that's being fought and these people are being captured in the process of that war?
Well, to tell you the truth, my client would take even a habeas corpus hearing, which is what we were expecting, which is not a criminal trial. There's no jury. There's no requirement that they bring in witnesses. They can proceed by hearsay. It's very easy for the government to prove their case. If they have any evidence at all that he's visited a terrorist facility, that he ever did anything against the United States, they would win the case. And they don't want to go forward with that because they have nothing, absolutely no evidence. And that's the sad thing. And generally, you know, a responsible prosecutor, when you get a case where the guy is innocent or where there's no evidence, you either don't proceed with the case or you do the right thing and say, well, proceed with the case, and I can't take there's too much heat on this case, I can't dismiss it, but I'm not going to fight you. We'll go to court and let a court decide. These lawyers have decided to avoid the courts at all costs because they know if this case ever gets near a court, he'll be released. And they don't want to admit a mistake. That's the sad thing. And it's not President Obama's mistake. It's the CIA's mistake. And they didn't.
Mr. Goodwin, I'm sorry we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it. Up next, we will have a live report on explosive new testimony in the Drew Peterson case.
And Toyota issues another important recall that affects more than 2 million customers all across the country. Stay with us.